Peace and blessings, fam. I'm your brother in the struggle, Ali. And today we're going to decipher part 3 of Universal Black Nationalism. In parts 1 and 2, we looked at the spiritual as well as the scientific aspects of black nationalism as well as the historical perspective. So we're going to continue that line, but we're going to now reverse course and look at it from the perspective of the source of the information. I mean, as we explained earlier, Messenger Elijah Muhammad teaches us, if your oppressor did not treat you right, why do you think your oppressor is going to teach you right? Many of us, we realize what our people been through in the hells of North America, but whenever the devil says something, we're quick to believe it. And the Holy Quran teaches us that on the day of Yom Kippur, on the day of judgment, when you have to judge your own mentality, you're going to ask yourself, why did you listen to Satan? Satan's going to look at you like you foolish to listen to him. You're going to be like, shame on you for associating partners with Allah. You knew the black man was God. You knew who you was. You knew who Messenger Elijah Muhammad was, Master Fard Muhammad. You know who they are. So we have to stick with our people, our definitions, our constructs from our ancestors. So here we have the man known as Noah Webster. As you can see, he's the one that actually compiled and edited what we call today the American Dictionary. Now, there's different dictionaries, but this is the primary dictionary, Noah Webster. Now, Canada has one, Google uses a different one. Now, it's just all kind of technology that they use, but at the end of the day, we have to be mindful that English is a bastard language, and the writers of English wrote it at a period in time when black people was considered 3/5 of a human beings, or we was considered chattel slavery. So Mr. Noah Webster, when he was born in a system or in a world where black peoples was considered slaves. They was considered commodities like their horses, their pet dogs, their goldfish, the bird and the parakeet. It's the Negro in the field. It's like a mule pulling a plow for them. That was how they looked at us. They didn't look at us as being on equal footing. And like in this day and time, if somebody was to throw a cat off the roof, if somebody was to leave a dog in the snow, and the neighbors called the SPCA, people have sympathy for other life forms. And the people that has this sympathy, they still live in a system on a world where those type of contradictions, they really don't think about them. The same person that would say, call the police if you threw a cat out the window or something, would take a can of Raid and spray mosquitoes or set traps for mice and rats in their homes. So you have to be mindful that you got to look at it in context. So I give Noah Webster credit because in the world in which he was living, he at least had sympathy for the so-called American Negroes. He had sympathy for the abolitionist movement. He didn't want to get too political or too honest with his views and opinions. I believe that he could have done more, but if I was in his shoes, I don't know if I would have done more, because he didn't want to cause a civil war to take place, and eventually a civil war is exactly what came about from that type of teaching. So our black is not from white. What we mean by that basically is we can't look at Noah's dictionary and look up the definition of black and be like, oh, I'm not black because the dictionary says that black is something negative, it's evil, black is the devil, black is something, you're blackballed, the black hand is the criminals. It's like, no, that's what their books say, that's what their dictionaries say. Now, if I was to go look at an ancient dictionary from the library of Kemet, Black Egypt, If I look at what our ancestors said in West Africa and South Africa and Tanzania, if I look at what our ancestors said in the early lexicons written by the Muslims of Arabia and Yemen and all that kind of stuff, we would come up with something totally different. Now, I mean, like their definition of a ham, Arab, they was like, we see them as black gods, black lords. Now, I mean, they was considered something positive according to our national identification and our national constructs, our national definitions, if you will. Now, I mean, we had a system set and designed for our people. That was our world view. And as we explained earlier in the previous video, when you get at the heart of it, the crux of it, when you get at the very beginning, what's in the beginning? Is there a borderline there? No. Is there anything religious? No. Is it anything intellectual in the sense of English or Arabic or Aramaic or Hebrew? Was it the Muslims? Was it the Christians, the Jews, the atheists? Was it these warriors? We say no, let's go way past all that. What predates humanity on earth? What predates the animals on earth? Messenger Elijah Muhammad asked Master Fard Muhammad about that. He said, brother, ever since we had a planet, we had life forms on it. I mean, animals was already on it. So the animals are here. Let's go past the animals. Let's say, okay, what's the origin of life? Water. Like before there was physical liquid water on this planet, before there were gases on this planet, before there was magma or hot lava forming this planet, before this planet spun off from the sun 78 trillion years ago. Now, I mean, before the sun formed from atoms of hydrogen and helium. Now, I mean, before the stars cracked into the darkness of space, before the atoms burst open, before the atom became an atom, before the subatomic particle was formed, what did we see? What did we have? What was everyone and everything's reality? It was infinite, universal, black nationalism. Our nationality didn't have borders. Our nationality didn't have labels. Our nationality didn't have width, depth, form, or space. Our nationality was not limited by time. Nothing was moving. So time didn't even exist. It wasn't no space as we know it today. In order to be space, that's an effect. So we have to go back to the primal or the original cause. And our ancestors taught us about that black dot, that black nationalism, that black dot, that black origin, that tiny essence. I'm talking before the black carbonate. A lot of people talk about the carbonate. I'm talking carbon atoms didn't even exist yet. It still was black. Now, I mean, white people today is calling this stuff like 80% of stuff is considered like dark matter. It's a lot of languages because they're still trying to understand it. We're still trying. We're going to always try to understand it. But at the end of the day, Master Fard Muhammad made it real simple for us. The mind of man is infinite, capable of accomplishing anything that the brain can conceive. The spooks and spirits are subjected to us and not we to the spooks and spirits. So our black is not from white. Let me now turn your attention to, this is the Noah's Dictionary. Let's now look at Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary. Okay. Now here's a picture of Henry Campbell Black. Now he's the one, and I want to make clear, I respect Noah Webster's dictionary. Now I mean, you know, it helped me in my education. I was like in the 10th grade. I went to the belly of the beast. Now I mean, you know, I was left back in school. I used to, you know, me and my homie Earl on my Facebook page, Earl Ransom, you know, I know he probably looking at me now cracking up. We was bad kids because we was in a bad environment. Now I mean, we went to Alany High School at Front and Duncannon in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was coming from the Gillespie, which was next door to Gratz High School. Gillespie was the junior high. I was in the Gillespie Junior High. Now I mean, a black school in North Philly. And we were so bad in there, they kicked us out of there, sent us out to Alany High. Know what I mean? And long story short, it was a real racist school because it was in a white neighborhood. Know what I mean? They literally were real. They was on some Jim Crow segregation stuff. But we from North Philly. So what did we do? We whipped the ass and took names. We took over the school. That's what we did. And that made us the enemies in the school. I mean, we was serious about that stuff. Now we went to school strapped. Now I mean, we was taking money, all that kind of stuff out there. So the white boys ain't know what to do with these types of Negroes. We wasn't house Negroes. I mean, it was like we was on some next level stuff. So it was, to us, it was fun. Now I mean, but at the same time, it was a dangerous time. At the same time, they had the law on their side. Now I mean, at the same time, they had family members that was in the police force. They had family members that were judges. They were family members that were in Jewish lobbies. So they had money and prestige and politics and powers that we simply did not have. So when they sick their dogs on us, I mean, it's like, yeah, we could do the street stuff easy. But when it came to the political stuff, the economical stuff, the judicial stuff, we was done. We was trapped into Black's Law Dictionary. So Black's Law Dictionary is, it's other law dictionaries, but Black's Law Dictionary is like used and respected by super lawyers all over the United States of America. Now I mean, it's with that dictionary, I physically freed prisoners, meaning that I know FOIs and MGTs that was in prison doing 20 years. Back then, they used to make you count jelly beans. They'd be like, how many jelly beans in a jar? Like, 310? I give you 310 years. How many pigeons out there on the roof in City Hall? In the old City Hall? About 42. I give you 42 years. That's how much of a joke and game it was to these devils. Now I mean, like when we standing before them without bow ties on, I got a bald head, no eyebrows, Death Angel boy. They're just like, oh, young man, take that picture off. I'm like, what picture? That. This is Messenger Elijah Muhammad. You can't bring that in my courtroom. You got a Jewish cross on your neck. From the police. Boop, boop, back, boop, 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 boop. This is the real stuff that was going on under Black's Law Dictionary. So we had to literally, I'm around, I'm physically in a cage with conscious lions. That's the beauty of it. I'm in a cage I'm on a block with Mumia Abu-Jamal. I mean, I'm on a block with Aaron Jones, Nudie Mims. I'm on a block with Phil and Delbert Africa, where they don't want to give them that vegetarian food, and they, we go to the law library using Black's Law Dictionary to sue these jokers to try to get. They like, oh, well, the movement is not a religion because they don't have a God. But they eventually got their food, and they used to get cases of cereal and cases of pears and teas and fruits and vegetables, but they got it through pain and suffering. Now I mean, I had this finger cut off. It's metal all in here. The guards cut this physically off, slammed in the iron steel gate. Now I mean, my celly brother Minister Kareem Allah, BA at the time, Troy S. David, I mean, we beat half to death. You know what I mean? But we warriors. That's all in it. And I mean, and the thing about it is, we were so militarily trained from our beloved defense minister, Theodore Bey, brother Minister Abdullah, he, we had the shortwave radios. And I mean, and we knew how to modify the mathematics with that stuff. So when the police is outside the prison making rounds and talking and all that kind of stuff, we hear the walkie-talkies. I mean, we hear the police cars, the scanners, the ambulances, and things of that nature there. So they thought they had it. So we sued them jokers, and when we sued them for excessive force, they was on the tip like, well, y'all said that y'all heard Sergeant Snedeker tell the guards to attack y'all. How did y'all hear that when y'all was always in y'all cell locked in? It's like we heard it on the radio. What radio? That is the question. FM frequency modulation bands, AM amplitude we was trained in all that kind of stuff. So they heard it on the radio. They like, yo, that radio can hear the center control in that cell. So they sent at that time the city solicitor, Chinese girl. Know what I mean? Forgot her name. Know what I mean? But she came in and offers us some money. We settled out for like $8,000. Know what I mean? But the struggle continued. But we would use Black Law Dictionary to write rid of habeas corpuses. Now, I mean, Major Tillery is the one that is an unsung hero. Who he is, he's the guy they talk about in Black Brothers Incorporated. He's the one that's like me, him, Dean, and me and Nasheed, General Nasheed, shout out, who's still in the belly of the biz. Major's still suffering up dollars. Now, I mean, he was across the hall from, knew these brothers for like 30, almost 40 years now. Now, I mean, and he was vicious with that law. He's like, listen, young buck, you know what I mean? You got to know how to sharpen your steel, but you also got to know how to sharpen your mind. So they used to, give me books like this. I'm talking about Maroon, JoJo Bowens, and all. They give me big giant books. I want you to learn chemistry. I need you to learn this. I want you to learn astronomy. You got to learn mathematics. You got to take it around to college. You got to do. I'm like, yo, you got to learn Arabic. You got to learn how to make select. You gotta know how to box. You gotta know martial arts. You gotta know improvised weaponry. We was vicious with all that stuff. Know what I mean? But that Black Law Dictionary, they explained to me, it was a tool in a soldier's arsenal. If you don't know the devil's law, they got you. You gotta teach this to these young boys. There's a lot of technology with these devils. Know what I mean? COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program. Now, I mean, these jokers, they literally was trying to shut us down. Not just me. I'm talking about a lot of FOIs, Afrocentric brothers, revolutionaries, Panthers. Shout out to Tokay, freedom fighters. Now, I mean, the public, y'all just don't understand when back in like 85, when they bombed Muammar Gaddafi, we tore them devils apart. I mean, we tore them devils apart. Now, I mean, so we was taking stands. Now, I mean, brothers don't understand the importance of the devil's tricks like Black's Law Dictionary, but you can use the dictionary. Malcolm X is a perfect example. When he was in the belly of the beast, he mastered that dictionary. He studied the thesaurus. Know what I mean? So we got the thesauruses. We had to learn that stuff. We got encyclopedias. Know what I mean? And we also got this Black Law Dictionary. Know what I mean? We had to take and understand how this thing operates, how the politics of it operates. Know what I mean? And definitely there's two justices in this country, but at the same time, one thing I noticed, they feared the word 1,000,000,000 times more than they feared the sword. Let me say that again. They feared you filing a grievance, a lawsuit, a writ of habeas corpus, then they feared you're whack, you refusing to go down, you not going out the yard. Because they like, oh, we going to have some fun with these boys. You know what I mean? That thing is like, oh, we can call it National Guard, state troopers, all that. You know what I mean? When we held Black History Month in SCI Greene County, which was considered the worst death camp in the state of Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? The devil sent me up there, and me being me, I broke the camp. Instead of them breaking me, I broke them. Everywhere they sent me, I broke that administration. They was like, we don't know what to do with this guy. Damn guy. This guy is like Dr. Yakub for real, for real. They come to my cell. Listen, man, what you want? You want to visit? You want to go home? You want to see you? I mean, they trying to compromise like a mug. Because during Black History Month, we holding services with the Moore Science Temple. True story. Now this is how vicious these devils is with divide and conquer. It's the same thing out here. Short version is this. The administration at SCI Greene, they paid Brother Minister Michael X. Anderson, Minister Farrakhan's minister, to come in the Supermax to teach the Teachers of Elijah Muhammad. They allowed the Moors to have religious services. That thing was like, everybody can have services except them goddamn supreme angels. Their thing was like the supreme angel's teachings are too militant. They feared what we was teaching. Now keep in mind, we're teaching the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad too. It's just we're not under the spiritual direction of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, but we love and respect Farrakhan. You know what I mean? The fruit under him, we all soldiering together. But they got services, and we trying to get like Muhammad Speaks in the jails. Now I mean, they made a list saying, listen, any prisoner that has a book written by Alif, we're going to put you in the hole. Any literature from him is considered contraband. You can have final calls, Message of the Black Man, 7 speeches, but if you had a book like The Angels of Allah, if you had a book like The Angel's Diet, if you had a book like Elaboration of Allah's Lessons, you lose your parole, you lose your freedom, you go in the hole, they're going to shake your cell down, they're going to take it and give you a pink slip called a confiscation slip. One day I'm going to show y'all hundreds of write-ups, hundreds of confiscation slips that they did with me. Because teaching the messenger teachings upsets the belly of the beast. Now I mean, like the scriptures tell us, now I mean, that when the angel gave them that little book, they like, oh man, they took that joint, let me eat this. And it was sweet in their mouth. But then when they had to swallow it and actually digest what was being taught, the book of Revelation said it made that stomach bitter. Now I mean, you know, a lot of people just couldn't stomach it. A lot of brothers had to throw the towel in, like, I'm losing too much. Now I mean, so I guess with the Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple from Pittsburgh, good brother, you know what I mean? And, you know, he basically let me get on the roster. Because at the time they had probably like 9 brothers, and we just sparking. We hold classes in the yard. Our business classes, like, we got to hold this table for this, you know what I mean? Young boys just falling in. You know what I mean? They crack. These dudes is as sharp as a tack. You know what I mean? You know, these young boys, they physical workout machines, mental. They go to school, they go to college, they starting their own businesses, their own nonprofits. They getting money. You know what I mean? I mean, we making gods, plain and simple, fearless gods. You know what I mean? And they're not followers of anybody. They're not followers of me. They not dependent on me. I leave them in the dust like, you waiting on a mystery God if you want. I mean, you like answer your own prayer. So I put them in a position where they had to practice the raw war teachings of Messenger Elijah Muhammad. Now I mean, you know, so the diamonds is polishing the diamonds. Now I mean, so what they did was, they peeped the move we made, a strategic move. I knew there would be ramifications, but I'm the type, I mean, I was like, F them devils. So I gets on the roster, Circle 7 More Science Services. I'm dropping jewels, sparking. We having fun. Sister Minister Joshua Asadia Law is there, Brother Minister Basil Law from York, PA is there. The Supreme Angels all in there. We doing our thing. We unity. I mean, we had so much unity up that joint. The Sunnis was unified with us. The Moors, the fruit, all the branches of the Nation of Islam, the 5%ers, the Pan Africans, Move. You know, I mean, we in the Supermax was supposed to have been the worst camp. That's the camp where when the United States went to Iraq and they tortured the Muslims in Iraq, and it made world news on front page of Time and Newsweek. All those guards were the guards that we was warned with. Those were the guards that, like other people, you know, they get a write-up, they go to a hole. Me, I go to a hole, they hold me in a hole for like a year. I'm in a hole 3 years straight. This how they persecute me up this joint. Every time for teaching the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Unauthorized group activities, teaching literature. He wrote a military manual called the FYMGT Militia Manual. They basically like, I'm a damn terrorist or something. That's how these devils was moving when you come with the raw teachings of the messenger. The messenger told us all these things. Persecution of the righteous, protection of the faithful. Now I mean, Message of the Black Man in America, 1965. So I ain't really paying them no attention. But using Yaku's law of divide and conquer, what the devil did was this. They called the Grand Sheikh into the security. Now, Now the security captain up there was this devil named Michael Machino, gangster Italian boy. I respect his gangster. He was, I would say, out of 30 years of hell, he was the most hardcore, vicious gangster guard I ever came across in my life. This dude was that dude. So much so that he called me and brother Captain Daoud down there. He called Jamaican Daoud down there with me, Daoud Law. Shout out to Fruit, that David X. Brown, you know what I mean? And he basically like trying to make us ship our literature out. He's like, y'all gonna have to ship all this camp literature out of here. This Kareem Abdul-Muhammad literature is a threat. I mean, y'all ain't gonna be taking over my jail. I run this jail. I mean, now Daoud is from Jamaica. Now, I mean, he was living in New York. He's from the streets, so he's trying to avoid immigration and getting kicked out the country and all this stuff. So it's a lot of heat that these devils is putting on brothers. You know what I mean? Me, I'm on the tip like, fuck out of here. I mean, I'm like, you know, they got me handcuffed in a chair with the big goons all around with the shields and all that crap. And he's sitting there all cool. He like, Alif, and he used to call me by my attribute. He's like, Alif, you know what? I want my name on one of these buildings. So I'm like, what you telling me for? He said, if you kill me, they'll name this prison after me. So I'm like, you know, we playing chess, not checkers. I'm like, kill you? Who are you? I don't even know you. You know what I mean? I was like, listen, you should be trying to get your name, because at the time he's the captain of security. You got like the captain of security, deputy superintendent of operations, like the assistant superintendent and the superintendent. So I'm like, you should be trying to get your name on the deputy superintendent's door, like step your rank up. I mean, you know, it's like you coming at me with this, you know what I mean? So I ain't even go into the details, all the crap, but the short version is this. These devils locked me down saying that I plotted a mass escape with the FOI. They found all these knives in the ceiling. Somebody put some heroin inside the coffee maker to put the guards to sleep. This is the real stuff that's going on. I mean, it's a white friend of Islam. I mean, from prison society, he used to come visit me in the hole, make sure that, you know, I was alive and all that. He came to my say, like, listen, man, you know I don't get involved in no nation business, none of that, but I want you to know that they got somebody in your ranks from the outside that's going to help Machino. And they basically saying, like, y'all are some type of FOI paramilitary band that has nothing to do with the Nation of Islam. Like, what? He's like, listen, you know, I ain't even going to pull no coats or nothing, you know what I mean? But it's a thing like, so I had to check all that. Now, at the same time, we trying to teach the teachings, but we got COINTELPRO on us also. You know what I mean? You know, the good thing is Daoud won his case, and the judge specifically told him about bad jacketing us. Now I mean, doctoring stuff up to make something more than what it is. Now I mean, and setting us up, literally trying to get us murdered. You know what I mean? And this is the persecution we going through at that time. But using Black's Law Dictionary, we wind up in a situation where it's Black History Month. We have a sister that owns a black church in Pittsburgh come into our Black History show. You know, when the sister come, brothers, you know what I mean, we gonna secure the black woman. We live, build, kill, and die for the black woman. You know what I mean? So she in the Supermax penitentiary. So our thing is like any sisters coming, well, you know, I don't care where I'm at, greatest for whatever. If somebody, wife, mom, daughter, niece, whatever coming in here, we wouldn't care if he was a muscle bound man. Any guest coming in, security is top notch. Ain't nobody hurting them, disrespecting them. Nah, we ain't doing none of that. You know what I mean? So, you know, the sister up there teaching, she talking that talk. You know what I mean? I give her that. Love the sister. She dropping some jewels. You know what I mean? But Machino and them is outside at the door. So I'm sitting on stage with her, I'm going to speak, and I see all this movement with the fruit. So I know the protocols. So I'm like, boom, what's going on? You know what I mean? So at that time we studying, like we were so sharp, we knew one hand and two hands sound like A, B, C. So they talking to me with sign language, let me know the 10% outside. So I'm like, what? So, he's on over here. So I go out there. This joker is out there. I kid you not. I cannot even make this crap. He got a flank of guards with the riot shields and helmets and clubs talking about, she gotta come out of there. I'm like, oh my man, slow down, pump your brakes. What you mean she said, now at the time, I'm not from Pittsburgh, so I don't know the different parts of Pittsburgh. I just know Pittsburgh, Homewood, Northside, Duquesne. I know the hood part. I know people from the hood. FYI's from the hood. You know what I mean? Shout out to Brother Supreme Angel Bateen, the sister Karima, the Salam, and all the family out there. I know dudes that was FOIs that was running the streets. You know what I mean? I'm talking like Kareem, Gary Pettis. You know what I mean? That's Captain Shaheed of Rockview back in '87. We eating like that. You know what I mean? But I'm on the tip like, you can't bring no bunch of white men to drag a sister during Black History Month out of here on our watch. Man, we'll shut this. You're going to need more than that. You know what I mean? So, long story short, SWAT comes, state troopers come, helicopters come, spotlights, the whole nine. But my thing is, y'all ain't taking her. I'll escort her to her car. You know what I mean? Boo, bang. That's because they wanted to handcuff me. Nah. You let me escort her out of here. She came in here because of my word. She's going to get safely out of here off of my word. And he's like, well, I was like, listen, you had authority where she can't come in here no more. But you're not dragging her, taking her out of here. Nah, that's not happening. Now, we'll let her finish. We'll finish our Black History show. And then we'll peacefully walk out of here. And I'll escort her to the front gate, make sure she get in her car and she just go home and she just never come back in. Y'all don't proof on the list no more. You know what I mean? And basically when me and the sister, we walking, the helicopter comes, it's nighttime. They got the spotlight, all the rifles, putting the red dots all on us. I'm like, so she get in the car, I watch her pull off, boom. All right, so now I know I'm going to hold. So they like, boom. So they like, get on the floor, lay down. I'm a righteous dude, but when the devil show up, I show up. So I give him the F y'all. I ain't laying down nowhere. So I just kept walking, like, shoot. You know what I mean? Go back in, boom. Death Angel's in there, fruit like, whatever it is. That's how we was riding. Whatever it is, it is. You know what I mean? It's gonna be what it's gonna be. So they let us go. They knew that if they snatched me up, the gods wasn't going for that. You know what I mean? So what they did, they let us do our thing. We finish up. We clean up, strut everything down, boom, bang. We go back to the blocks. I go into the hut. Boom. Soon as that old joint is locked down, man, them jokers came to that hut like 30 deep with the video cameras. Get on! They got the SWAT joints. All right, been a hole 1,000 times. So I go to the hole. I mean, it is what it is. But I found we gang warring now. Now I mean, we litigating gang warring with these jokers. So long story short, I really was fighting because I just like to fight. Like if somebody come at me, I'm the only boy, so I never had physical brothers. I always had to fend for myself. So psychologically, when I'm not the type like to live in fear. You know what I mean? My thing is kill me, because I'm gonna try to kill you. If we going to war, it's on. You know what I mean? So we going through what we going through. You know what I mean? But Machino messed up. I even got the pictures in there now. You know what I mean? my wife came up to visit me. They harassing her, calling the house, you know what I mean, trying to play games, you know what I mean, but my wife came up, boom. So he's such a tyrant that he disrespected an old Italian mafia boy, mob boy, and his lawyer. Machino thing was the girl was his lawyer, but she came to see him on a regular visit. So he looking at it like, oh, something's going on here. You know what I mean? So this dude was like from Florida or something like that, had millions of dollars, whatever. But he laid back, cool, old head. You know what I mean? Old white mob boy. Somebody that was a man of respect. He gave respect and he got respect. You know what I mean? Machino disrespected. But he had the money. And she was a lawyer. Oh, they did the fighting for me. Machino, they was like, when they finished Machino, it was front page racism in Greene County, the beatings, you know what I mean, the discrimination, the religious discrimination. You know what I mean? So it didn't, he had so many guards scared of him. And one of the tricks that Joker did was, I give him credit, I told you he's a crafty devil. He was smart. But one of the things he did was, he personally never in his life shook me down. He personally never in his life came to my hut. He always sent his goons. So all my write-ups and stuff has other guards' names on it. But he messed up. And I never heard of this. I was a judge, we now called the Gasco case. Well, he messed up because the guards would write confiscated material sent to Security Captain Machino. His name just, I mean, constantly all in my paperwork. So the judge like, you wrote this man up like 100 times, and all the contraband that you said he had, it was all religious materials, and he never got a write-up for the contraband, but you kept the contraband. And I mean, like, he literally was just stealing unpublished books, anything. I mean, I literally had to make, I literally had got some money, so I literally had to get this fancy typewriter where it was like automatic, like you type it up in the memory. So I would type the stuff in the memory of the typewriter, and then you push a button and it types it up. So when they come shake me down, boom, 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 they snatched the only copy of the manuscript, but I still had it in the memory. So they'll take it, throw me in the hole, whatever. Boom, I come out, just print out another copy. Brush it to the lot, make copies, get it to the fruit secretary, use our treasury fund, everybody getting copies, send it to other camps. Joint going out California, Los Angeles, North Carolina, New York. I mean, literature going everywhere. I mean, so that was the little cat and mouse game we playing with these jokers. You know what I mean? But that Black Laws Dictionary and the language that was in it, it was a powerful weapon for offense and defense. So Henry Campbell Black, in there is a lot of racist stuff because he's, you know, the time he's living in. I mean, you know, he's like this is the Centennial Edition from 1891, for example, to 1991. They come out like, they update them like every few years. But using this, I remember we was able to get a FOI home because the updated forensic science. A lot of young boys don't understand technology. You got to know these devils' technology. Like the Holy Quran says, Satan and his host sees you from which you see them not. These jokers literally got satellites orbiting the planet Earth that can see the license plate on a car, see the shine, the spit shine on a soldier's boots. Now, I mean, like when they did the thing over in Libya and killed Muammar Gaddafi, when Saddam Hussein was on trial and their soldiers was denying that they put the oil fields on fire, they used satellite evidence to show the soldier lighting flares and throwing them into the oil wells, and it's so much black smoke was in the air that it made black snow fall on other parts of the world. Now, I mean, so they showed that the satellites is actually videotaping everyone on Earth. They have infrared heat monitors that can see the heat of a mouse inside of a food truck. When the food truck driving down the highway, they can see the heat. It's like, oh, it's a mouse over here in this corner. I mean, it's a bunch of potato chips in the truck, but it's a mouse right there. That's what you're up against. This is why the Bible says in Revelation chapter 13, who was like unto the beast? Who was able to wage war with him? Now, I mean, so this stuff ain't no joke. Now, I mean, so it's like, it's not enough to resist and fight oppression. You got to know how. Now, I mean, so you have to be properly taught and properly trained. Now, I mean, otherwise, you could get killed. Now, I mean, I've seen a lot of so-called sovereigns get murdered like that. Now, I mean, you know, playing games with these devils, you can't play games with them. Now, I mean, you know, if you die, you die. You die on post. That's all in it. But you don't want to die a death unnecessarily. You don't want to die a foolish death. You don't want to die a death that's going to weaken the struggle. Now, I mean, some of us, you know, are helpful in the cause. Some of us are in the way. Now, I mean, you're going to always have the house slaves. You're going to always have those that take sides with the devil. Now, I mean, you're going to have those that's black like you that is going to be envious and jealous. They're going to feel as though that they could do what you're doing better. And your thing is like, then go do it. I mean, like, don't play hate on me. Like, I'm in the struggle I'm showing and proving I'm sincere with this. Now, I mean, I've been doing this 40 years. I mean, like, what more do I have to do to prove that I love Master Fard Muhammad, Messenger Elijah Muhammad, and Nation of Islam? I gave blood, sweat, and tears for this. Gave money for this. Donated money, lost money, took money, made it happen. Now, I mean, you know, it's like, this thing is real. So that's the Black's Law Dictionary. Now, let us go on. Now, this here, let's jump. This here is the ancient Egyptian or Kemetic alphabets. All right. Of course, there's more to it. And actually, I recommend that you study what's known as the evolution of alphabets and the evolution of mathematics. A lot of people like the lessons supreme alphabet, supreme mathematics. Thousands of years ago, they had supreme alphabets. Thousands of years ago, they had supreme mathematics. Now, I mean, and it's a science there. That's our people. That's our ancestors. As the Bible says, nothing new under the sun. But the various metanetas are holy drawings, the hieroglyphs. Now, I mean, was one of the ways that they communicated mental ideas into the verbal and written and formal world of intellect. Now, I mean, so when we hear someone say black means this, we have to understand that at one time, the devil was in the caves grunting. They didn't even say black. They didn't know what black was. They didn't have a verbal language. We already knew what black was. We already defined black for our people. We knew what it was to be black. I mean, we understood the metaneta. I mean, it seems biblical Hebrew did have a word for black. This is from a scholar. It seems biblical Hebrew did have a word for black, but it wasn't Shakur. It was apparently Kedar, though this interpretation of the ancient word has been disputed by the distinguished linguist Naphtali Hertz Tur Sinai. He suspects the root KDR meant bow down. See, again, when it comes to the definitions, you got to look at what period is you talking about? What dictionary is you looking at? Now, I mean, when was it written? If it's written when Nubia was fighting ancient Kemet, okay, then, you know, that's one thing. If it's written when the Greeks or the Romans are coming inside our environment, now you got people that are made subservient to another people. Black people had to bow down to white people. So those that were black were those that bowed down. Those were the lower caste. Now, I mean, you know, the Black Dalit Indians, they set up a caste system. If you up north, you know what I mean, you fair-skinned Indian, and you the pitch black ones, they be like, yo, they tie a broom around your neck. and make you sweep your own shadow because you that filthy. You black, you dark, you deaf, you doomed, you disease. Now I mean, so the people that thought that they would be reincarnated over and over into this blackness and this evil, they wanted to do everything in their power to get out of that blackness. They wanted to get white because white was the light, white was the power. It had nothing to do with nationality, the etymon, the dictionaries. It had everything to do with greed, capitalism, socialism, classism, racism, institutionalized racism, colonialism. It had everything to do with human nature. Now, I mean, that's the reality of that. All right. Look at this, what we was working with back in the day. This ain't Egypt. This is the old Nubia, the Sudan, the black, the Nubia, the black. This is the new black generation. And it's the old blacks, actually, the older Egypt right here. You know what I mean? This is southern Egypt. This is the Egypt where black men was considered gods. I mean, this is a land where when they look at the records, they had black men that was considered gods. Their black women was considered gods, deities, divinities. Their children was considered godlings. They was a nation of gods and goddesses all over Africa. You know what I mean? So this is not new. This is the real Trinity, the Holy Trinity, the original Trinity. I ain't gonna say the original because they not. This is really new compared to. See, one thing about the messenger, he explained to us, we've been on the earth for 76 trillion years. There was no such thing as a Nile River when we was already ruling. There was no such thing as Africa being separate from Asia. It was all connected. I mean, it was just, white folks may call it Pangea, but we don't know the name. You know what I mean? But it's so old, you can't find out origin. You can't find out endings. I mean, all we can do is, history is not a science. All we can do is look at the pieces of the puzzle to get our worldview. Our worldview is real simple. The black man is God. You know what I mean? But here we have Heru, Usar, and Set. You know what I mean? That's Horus, Osiris, as the Greeks call him, and the goddess Isis. You know what I mean? And imitators, because the highest form of flattery is imitation. Everybody used to imitate us. I mean, they used to bite our style, son. Now, I mean, it's like hip hop is older than the sun, moon, and stars. It's like ever since we had civilization, we just had people that was just the salt of the earth, as Jesus put it. They had that flavor. You know what I mean? They was, I don't care what they was doing, music, getting money, going to war. There was a rhythm to it. You know what I mean? Giving birth to the children, making clothes, building, destroying, doing good, doing bad, doing righteous stuff. Gangsters all over the planet Earth. I'm talking Genghis Khan, the black ones, the Chinese, the Indian. Everybody had that gangsters. Gangsters made the world go round. That's how stuff got set up. This is what we dealing with to this day. But a lot of us is still so spooked out of our mind. They trying to figure out, why the young boys out here doing this, that, they shooting each other, they selling drugs, they hustling. They like, we in a war. This is the war of Armageddon. Y'all know war Armageddon is coming in the future. Joker, we've been in the war Armageddon for over 6,000 years. These young boys surviving the war. they winning too. I mean, anytime you see someone coming from the projects, coming from the streets, broken homes. Do you understand broken families? I mean, a lot of y'all was born with silver spoons and all. It's like Saus Muhammad eloquently put it. I mean, my life ain't been no crystal staircase. Everybody ain't grow up like Brandon or Donald Trump. I mean, it's like we couldn't say, I'm not going out there because I got a spurred toe. They like, Joker, you going out there, you gonna die right here. Now I mean, you're gonna have to show and prove. You're gonna have to make things happen. Now I mean, when I'm 14 years old, my sisters and everybody that know me from down towards, they be like, yeah, he was 14. He was the manager of 2 stores at the age of 14. Yeah, my sister be like, yeah, I used to help him. We worked for her godmother, and we used to travel and work at 2 laundromats. I'm 14 years old. We don't have a daddy. When daddy comes, daddy, stepdad, they drunks and they breaking the home even worse. I mean, but you go through that. But at the end of the day, you love your family regardless of whom or what. Now, I mean, that's family. It's like, hell yeah, it was hell on earth. But it was some heaven on earth too. Now, I mean, we made heaven out of hell. Now, I mean, we made them dirty environments clean. Now, I mean, we made those dangerous environments safe. Now, I mean, people in my block, they had to lock that doors. We wish somebody would come down here and harm somebody. Down here, nah. We was stupid. Now, we'll harm each other. I mean, but it's usually girls, money, greed, jealousy. You know what I mean? You know, so it's like that's human nature. It's like you when you see brothers, when you see cubs, they rumbling each other. You know what I mean? Because they rhinoceros, alligators, birds, eagles. That's all in it. We not. You can't turn mountain lions into pussycats. You know what I mean? So it's like the mistake that I see that we're making is not learning from the previous mistakes of others. That's an important element, you know what I mean? And that's why the message teaches us so much about history and getting knowledge of self. He's trying to put us down so when we know better, we do better. If I knew then what I know now, it would have been a whole new world before all this crap. Now, I mean, using the truth, but it is what it is. But everything happens for a reason. Things happen so that things may occur. Now, I mean, you have to go through some stuff. You have to survive. You have to, be strong, diligent. Now, I mean, you have to be resilient. Now, I mean, so that mentality, that atom of mind will go on in others. And they like, oh, man, my little problems ain't nothing. If he could survive, I could survive. If he could take a stand, I could take a stand. So what happens is the young boys going to take it to a whole nother level. The little corny money stuff we was doing, see, we was in the era of like dust. We smoking black dust. Girls from New York bringing us dust. Dust is like crack back in the early 80s. I mean, we drinking 40s, old English, 800, you know what I mean? So we wilding out with our little raggedy guns and I got shot when I was a buck, you know what I mean? But it's like nowadays things is on a whole nother level. When you talking hand over fist cash, you talking military style weapons and vests, and it's like, what? I mean, that was unimaginable when I was a young boy. Now, I mean, when I was a young boy, I would never think of going on the corner and sell some drugs. I would worry about the police. I would worry about my old heads. My old heads catch us out there selling drugs. They'd be like, you effing crazy. They'll punch you straight in your chest. Boom! Like, oh, what the hell? Give me that. Now, they won't sell it. They won't rob you. They'll stomp on this. Don't you ever. Meaning, they had organized crime. You go to South Philly to the Italians, they had organized crime. You go to Chinatown and mess with them Chinese girl, you're going to get your behind. They had organized crime. They did wrong right. There was rules to the game, rules to the street, that they understood the code of the street. I mean, and they would pass that down to us. But unfortunately, Ronald Reagan came in like 1981. And when Reagan got in there, politically, like I said, that's one thing we didn't understand because of Black Law Dictionary. Politically, we didn't understand the economic game, capitalism, greed. Now, I mean, so they took it on another level. Like, look, and back then I remember his name was Ronald Wilson Reagan. So it was like Ronald RONALD 6, Wilson WILSON 6, Reagan REAGAN 666. We was like, the devil was here, Satan is here. We was on like, this dude shut down the rec center, Huntington Park, McGonigal Hall, every place that we used to go to stay out of trouble, the pool halls, everything. It was like just crazy how the hood was just transforming, for how everything, it was like, yo, we wasn't organized, and there was a disconnect with the leadership. So the integrationist is doing that thing, getting money, eating with the white folks. Then you have the conscious white folks and the revolutionaries and people like Farrakhan and all them. They can't get the message out, because the media is using technology to spin it to make people hate them and think they the bad guys, and that the good guys are really the bad guys and the villains are the heroes. It was crazy how they mathematically did it. Know what I mean? But at the end, the prisons industry just exploded. Know what I mean? And I just happened to fall right before that drug thing really blew up like that. It was drugs, but it was never like that. Know what I mean? Like when I was out there. But the thing, I'll never forget it. Around the late 80s, early 90s, I'm watching the news. It's like, what is going on? I'm seeing Ethan Butler. I'm seeing the hoods that I used to be in. They finding $3 million cash in the wall. I'm like, $3 million. See, $3 million, you know, Jay-Z is a billionaire. Now, I mean, you know, rappers get, say, $1 million advance, $100 million. You understand, where I come from, coming up, if you had $3 million in that house, we would come through the walls, through you, through your security, and get that $3 million. But it was that kind of money circulating. So I was like, yo, it's going to be hell on earth. Whatever drug this is, wherever it's coming from, it's just too much attraction for that type of forbidden fruit to be in the ghetto and not take over. And sure enough, it got horrific. You know what I mean? It was so bad. Like I used to hear horror stories about the sisters. They had sisters having sex with dolls like they was in the caves and hillsides of Europe 6,600 years ago type stuff. It was bad. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I see all these black businesses opening up. I see dudes that's in the belly of the beast getting new lawyers going home. I see people, grandmoms getting beautiful homes, getting out the hood. I see babies safe and eating now. I see medical bills being paid. It was that dichotomy. Now I mean, you know, so that struggle, you know, it was taking place, but at the same time, it's a lot of competition because Yaku's law of divide and conquer. Now I mean, we didn't have a black Lucky Luciano that could like bring together the West Coast and East Coast and South. Now I mean, bring together all the hip hop leaders, these hip hop gods and goddesses, bring them all to the table. Be like, look, okay, you got 10 million, you got 100 million, you got 20 million, Russell, you got, you know what I mean, Suge Knight, you know what I mean, Puffy, all, and Jay-Z, and they came together, they would have took over the whole thing. You know what I mean? They would have been showing proof of some God and goddess stuff. You know what I mean? Nicki Minaj and Lil Wayne, they would have took over, but the devil know that. So the devil thing is, make sure you divide and conquer these jokers. You know what I mean? All that, fight the power! Brand Nubian, this Asiatic black man is a dog spelled backwards, the baker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father civilization, God of the union. I'm like, yo, they dropping the jewels all on MTV and BET. That's the thing. I'm like, what is these videos? Drugs, sex, kill your mama. Why you shoot his mom, Deuce? I'm going all out, true. And I'll sell crack to a 12-year-old. This is the lyrics. I'm like, yo, I just was watching Paris. The devil made me do it. And I'm watching Lakim Shabazz. I'm watching Black is Back. Queen Latifah. Ooh, all them positive, conscious vibrations. Them devils put the brakes on that stuff. If you want the money, come with technology. Come with the devil stuff. And it is what it is. At the end of the day, former slaves gonna want to eat. It's like a person like the conscious thing is like, you shouldn't do it. It's like, that's easy to say if you don't need nobody to pay your bills. You know what I mean? But I'm watching the God Rock Him. You know what I mean? It's kind of, he got, don't sweat the technique. And I see the white girls with bikinis on. I'm like, that's the art. I mean, but that was a little experiment with, you know what I mean? With the record label, this is the industry, how diabolical the hip hop industry was. Now I mean, and it was like, Oh man, they locking DMX, they locking people up for taxes. Black people going to jail for not paying. They locked Wesley Snipes up for Wesley Snipes. They really locked him up because he had a rifle range next to Iman Issa, private land out Georgia, and they was building pyramids. And Erykah Badu and them had their own music studios. They was making their own clothes and growing their own. They like, oh hell no, we ain't let no. So they always gonna come knock down black power, symbols of black power. We can't keep letting these devils fool us. And when I say these devils fool us, we got to be smart enough and real enough to understand the message that said there's some white Muslims of faith, meaning there's some white folks that's for freedom, justice, and equality. They trying to help the hood too. I respect like Eminem and all of them. Know what I mean? So you got some white people they down with the king. And you got some blacks that's blacker than black. And they super slaves. I mean, so this struggle is for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality. So Heru, Usar, and Aset, I mean, they're the prototype of your mama, your daddy, and yourself. That God that got us in the mirror. There's no mystery gods. Europe is 8% of the landmass of the planet Earth. But she took over 80% of the planet Earth from the year 1492 to 1914. How did 8% take over 80%? By making the 80% divided against itself. Now, I mean, that's Yaku's teachings, his tricknology. To come in, give you a half-truth and a whole lie, and you eat that crap, and you spread it all around, and next thing you know, you're fighting and arguing and killing each other while the devils continue to rule. And the devil come in as the peacemaker. Oh, let me stop this here. Y'all need to cool out this. And now he ruled both sides. He ruled the Crips and the Bloods. He ruled the FOIs and the Sunnis. He ruled the streets and the penitentiary. He get paid off everything. He ruled the Democrats and the Republicans, the straight and the gay, the abortion people and the anti-abortion people. He ruled the death penalty people and the anti-death penalty. He rules the whole thing. And when I say he, I'm talking about Satan, whose power, the messenger said, can affect others. So we got to be conscious of this tricknology that's taking place. Noah was not going to war for blacks. He naturally took the easier fight. You know what I mean? If you was in his shoes, you'd probably do the same thing. If I was in his shoes, I would think I wouldn't, but 9 times out of 10, I'd do the same thing. You know what I mean? Your worldview changes if you're born into a system. You're a product of your environment. It's called environmental heredity. You know what I mean? I'm a gymnast, for example. You know what I mean? Like if I take my hand and like my hand right now is cool. If I start doing pull-ups, I'm doing pull-ups on a pull-up bar, getting it in every day. Winter, summer, spring. I'm doing my push-ups. I'm doing my pull-ups, say, 5 times out of a week. I come to you 1 month later, my hand is a totally different hand in 30 days. My hand, the skin on my hand will be sticking out. I have calluses all on here. They be done ripped, bust, pussed up, healed back over. I mean, the whole 9. Just turn that off for y'all. But the fact of environmental heredity is it affects anything. Like if you ran barefoot on the hot concrete and through the snow and through the rain and through the dry bush for a year, your feet won't be your feet. Like your regular feet are changed. They're going to adapt or they're going to die. Now, I mean, that's environmental heredity. You got to toughen up. It literally make you harder. Now, I mean, you literally, you play with that still. You got brothers that's just all muscle because they lift like that almost every day. Now, I mean, so we have to understand the psychological and spiritual effects of the devil's tricknology. So when you hear us talking about universal black nationalism, what we're doing is we're defeating Satan's trick of divide and conquer, and we're taking the people past their religious divisions, their economic divisions, their ideological divisions, their philosophical divisions, their false belief divisions, and we're taking them back to the origin. We're taking them back to pure blackness. The struggle continues. Islam Allah. Peace God. Peace Goddess. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.